The Little Monster by Sherry Fink. Illustration by Bright Jungle Studios. Deep within a secret hollow nestled inside the magical mountains lived a happy little monster who was counting down the days until his birthday. As he laid in his bunk bed, his big brother popped up from underneath and said, "Don't tell Mom and Dad I told you, but we are planning a big surprise party for you. All of your friends will be there." The little monster could feel the anticipation squirming inside of him as he imagined a celebration bursting with yummy cake, colorful balloons, fun-filled presents, and cheery friends. At dinner time, the hungry little monster shoveled ooey-gooey smashed potatoes with worms into his mouth. Just when he thought he couldn't be more content, his mom said, "Now that you're turning 600, we think that it is time for you to have your own bedroom." His big brother cheered loudly,
"Yippee!"
realizing that meant he would also be getting his own room. The little monster wanted to feel excited, but wasn't sure how to react. He liked sharing a room because his big brother always made him laugh and feel safe before bed. What worried him the most was being by himself in the dark at bedtime. Just thinking about it gave him the shivers. Monsters were known for their love of the dark. His friends enjoyed parading, stomping, and frolicking in the night. But the little monster was too fearful to join them. He felt ashamed that he was afraid of the dark, so he hid his true feelings from everyone. The first night alone in his new room arrived. His parents kissed him goodnight and turned out the lights. He told himself to be brave and not to imagine all the terrifying things that could be hiding in the murky corners of the room. But it was just too scary. Instead of falling asleep, he stayed awake with his blankets pulled up to his chin to make sure it was safe. His teeth chattered as he nervously watched and waited for the sun to rise, melting the dark away. The next day, the little monster felt exhausted from being up all night. He couldn't keep his eyes open at monster school and got in trouble with his teacher for dozing off in class. He'd never gotten a detention before and felt embarrassed. He had to find a way to get some sleep in his new room. The second night arrived. This time he tried as hard as he could to fall asleep, but his imagination ran wild. Shapes and shadows on the wall turned into creepy creatures crawling in the dark. He got so terrified that he ran to his big brother's room. When he crashed through the door, his brother shrieked but brushed it off, saying it was because the little monster had startled him. "Can I sleep with you tonight?" asked the little monster.
"Well, I suppose," grunted his big brother. "But only if you stay on the floor. There's not enough room in my bed for both of us."
The little monster wondered if his brother was just pretending not to be anxious and was secretly happy that he was sleeping in the same room again. When he woke up the next morning, the little monster felt as stiff as a board and couldn't move his neck. Ouch! He was so sore that he couldn't play in the school's monster soccer game. Sleeping on the floor wasn't going to work either. He had to try something else. The third night arrived. The little monster made a sleep mask to place over his eyes so that the shadows wouldn't scare him. Everything was going well, and he was almost asleep when a strange noise startled him wide awake. He told himself that there was nothing to be afraid of, but the goosebumps under his fur told him a different story. He couldn't take it anymore. He felt so scared that he started screaming. His mom and dad hurried into his room to comfort him. The little monster sobbed as he finally shared that he was afraid of the dark. He confessed that he didn't want it to seem like he wasn't a real monster like his friends who loved the dark. His dad consoled him and said, "It's okay to be afraid. We're proud of you for sharing your feelings." "That's right," his mom reassured him. Admitting that you are afraid of something takes real monster bravery. Together, the little monster and his parents created a plan. That evening, he set a flashlight by his bed in case he needed to get up during the night. He found some glowing orbs and hung them around his room as nightlights. He put on his favorite superhero pajamas and cuddled up with his snuggliest stuffed animal so he would feel courageous. After his parents finished reading his bedtime story and left the room, he noticed some lights from the window peeking in from under his curtain. He bumbled out of bed and opened up the curtain so the light of the moon and stars streamed into his room from beyond the mountains. When the shadows and noises appeared, he didn't feel as frightened as before. The moon glow comforted him as he gazed peacefully at the stars in the night sky and drifted off to dreamland. The next morning, the little monster was delighted to discover that he had slept through the night without anything bad happening. He told his family that maybe the dark wasn't so bad after all. His brother stomped into the room and proclaimed, "Well, if Little Monster isn't afraid anymore, then I don't have to be either." Hearing that he had inspired his big brother to be brave made him feel proud. The little monster's birthday finally arrived. Now that he loved the dark, his parents decided to throw him a nighttime party by the pool outside under the stars. There was a giant birthday cake, twinkling party lights, and monstery games. As he opened his presents, he was delighted to discover night vision goggles, glow-in-the-dark wall decorations, and the best gift of all, a pet glowworm. That night, the little monster enjoyed parading, stomping, and frolicking with his friends through the mountains in the moonlight. He even did a monstrous cannonball into the pool. After the party, the little monster's friends helped him decorate his room with his birthday gifts. When they finally turned the lights off, the room glowed with multicolored stars and planets. His friends stayed for a sleepover and told funny stories to make each other laugh. His tummy filled with birthday cake, the little monster marveled at the light of the moon streaming through the window. He remembered that the dark seemed scary at first and felt grateful to discover that nighttime can actually be fun and relaxing. Surrounded by his friends, tucked into sleeping bags in his very own room, he snuggled with his pet glowworm and fell asleep, as happy as any monster has ever been. Thanks for listening to The Little Monster. Make sure to grab your copy with the link below.